Well, it's the end of Sunday here on Week 7 of the LCS with coverage brought to you by Alienware. That took me a second to calculate when in the timeline I was. I'm joined right now by Zeyzal, talking about EG's first 2-0 weekend. He's not feeling well. I don't think it's Corona, but we're going to make sure this goes quickly. So, 2-0 weekend. What is it about this weekend in particular that allowed you guys to have your first 2-0?
I think we were a lot more strict on the places we wanted to draft around and what lanes we want to have priority in, as well as we've been getting a lot more decisive in game, and we've started to find a much better win condition for how we play the game.
I was talking to Jizuke last night, who was saying that he feels as though you guys are finally getting all the synergy together. Do you feel it's all there? Oh, you're laughing. So maybe that's not true.
No. So I was laughing because he just did his Riot interview, and he was like, "Yeah, our macro's insane," and it's like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty good." I mean, so there's been a lot of weird situations. It's like, I think it's pretty clear how we want to play the game, so it's really easy for me to do macro. Like, it's almost always the same thing, basically. Like, how the game is played is very, very similar right now because of the Dragon Soul win condition. Yeah. So just how well teams play around Dragon is pretty much, like, Cloud9's insane at it. Their first Dragon rate's like 85% or something, so obviously they're really good at that. But I think we found our identity in that as well, like understanding how we want to fight dragons, how we get in positions and things like that. So our dragon percentage is quite high as well. So then I think that's one of our main conditions that we've been playing for, and it feels really good just because we can pretty much make sure our bot side of the map is as strong as we can, and then we play around that.
Okay. So you feel like you guys have sort of figured out or locked in like the style you want to play, at least for now?
I think we've locked in our style, as well as it might just be the best way to play. Yeah. So I think we've more just understood how to play the game, because I think we were comfortable giving up the first dragon, because it's like, oh, it's just the first dragon. They're not going to get the next 3. But then it's like, oh shit, but we just got to wait 20 minutes now if we want it. So then it's kind of weird.
So do you feel as though the team has finally figured out what it needs to do? Because it did feel like, even a couple of weeks ago, I think Jat was like, yeah, you look and you see all these players going in different directions. And this was something I brought up with Jizuke. So do you feel as though you guys are all on the same page now?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was we just didn't really have that, like, we kind of wanted to play for like tier 2's top and split push, and then it's like, well, what are we really playing for? Like, we're playing for vision. It's like, I think we lose a bit of focus when we don't have a clear objective on the map, and that's something we've been talking about a lot as a team, trying to figure out. So right now we're trying to like keep clear what our objective is, and then everybody plays towards it. So I think it's just making sure everybody's on the same page by pretty much clarifying as much as we can what we're playing for, and trying not to get sidetracked, because that's a Jizuke problem. He gets sidetracked very easily. Like, he sees someone that he can outplay and he'll go for it. I think once we started fixing that little problem, it kind of pushed the pieces into place. We started to call objectives better, focus them, set up for them better, and then with just how good our players are, like Jizuke, Bang, our carries, like our mid AD carry are really insane carries, and they play super well in team fights and positioning wise, so it's really easy to win fights for those objectives. Yeah.
One of the other things he brought up, and I love checking Jizuke's takes on things against yours, because I feel like maybe you have greater context on North America, at least in this situation, but he feels as though he's really disappointed that a lot of the NA mid laners tend to play pretty safe and don't want to go for trades. And he says that this is a pretty big difference between LEC and LCS. And he also kind of, like, I pushed him on it a little bit, and he was suggesting, or he kind of almost feels as though this is something that could potentially hold North America back on the world stage, where, you know, at Worlds or internationally, there are a lot more aggressive mid laners that want to make plays, and not having anybody do that here. What is your take on that philosophy?
I think there are just a lot of players in NA that prefer to play safer. I think a part of it is how big the English-speaking forums are. So Twitter, Reddit, and things like that will crucify players that make like dumb mistakes. Like Jizuke's dive mid. You asked me, the last interview I did with you asked me about it. So it's like, that's a mistake he made because he's trying to push, like he's trying to solo dive his opponent 1v1. Right. That's something most mid laners won't do, and I think that it's a pretty good perspective on the game, honestly. Like, maybe it didn't work that time, but next time, what if their mid laner does that to an NA mid laner, and they're just not even like looking at that as an angle, like our mid laners? So then it's just a huge advantage that they could be getting if they play better, but it's just a matter of how do you get to be that that good, and how do you tame your aggression when it matters.
And do you think that that same situation exists outside the mid lane, or is this mostly like a mid lane thing in North America?
Oh, it absolutely exists outside of mid lane.
So how do you figure out how can we as a region start to get our players to act a little bit more aggressively? You say the English-speaking forums will crucify them if they make these big plays. What if the English-speaking forums started to crucify them if they didn't do anything?
That's honestly what I prefer to see. Like, yeah, I think it's really easy to fall into a mindset of like, oh, my team's not doing well, I should just play safe and look good. And it's like, okay, you do that, and then you might look good to Reddit, but then you're just not a good player. And the other players recognize that. Like, when we play versus a team, and I can just feel certain players that like don't want to take risks. Like, sometimes I'll misstep and I'll be like, oh shit, I should have died there. And it's like, I can now just think in my head like, well, if that player was actually willing to play aggressive, I'm just dead. Yeah. And then I can recognize it myself, and I think that does add up. Like, every time a player makes a misplay like that, it's pretty much a chance to break open the game that they're missing.
Given that you have a crazy man in the mid lane, do you think that this is something that EG can start to push in North America?
I think not only EG, but also Cloud9's pushing it. I think that, I mean, the way they play the game, super aggressive. They pretty much play aggressive in all lanes, looking for, like, every lane tries to fight their opponent, and I think that's something that throws a lot of teams off. Like, they're good players and they are aggressive players, so it just works so well here, because a lot of the good laners we have aren't even willing to play like super aggressive like Cloud9's are or Jizuke is. And I think Dennis especially really encourages it. Like, he gets upset when people aren't playing aggressive, or like he's like hovering like mid or bot or something, and he's like, you guys better be playing up here. Yeah. Like, he's pressuring it a lot.
Good. Well, I hope things I hope that this Cloud9 thing, perhaps you guys, maybe some of the other teams start to really enact this. I know you're not feeling well, so I want to make this short, but is there anything you want to say to any of the EG fans out there?
Just thanks for being a fan. I think we're doing a lot better now, and I think we'll continue our trend and should be able to make playoffs pretty confidently.
Well, thank you so much for the interview. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. You know what's nice and cool and refreshing, like this cup of ice? A great Alienware monitor. That's right. Frame rate so silky smooth that you'll just feel brand new whenever you sit down in front of it for the first time. Alienware.com/Travis. Travis 10 off. There's a link in the video description. They're also doing a giveaway. So same link. You go to Alienware.com/Travis down there. You'll be able to enter the giveaway yourself, and you can win a monitor and a desktop. And if you enter through that, it's actually super helpful for me because a lot of other people are promoting that. But if I promote it more, then I become Alienware's favorite child, and I've never been anyone's favorite child. I need this. Please help.